does it for me. Strip away, sweet, the varnish of sleep. Minting, imprinting this part of me. Breakfast with you, here you go. Truth, utter nonsense, do it with me. With tether, tongue signal, splendor of sleep. Vocalize, still I cry. This part of me I know. This you know, this I know. Does it for me. Fire infused with color, with dream. Blazing, reglazing this part of me. Breakfast with you, here you go. It for me, service supreme, me suffering, sleep, feeding, indeed I am this part of me. I know, this I know, this I know. Breakfast with you. This, thank you, does it for me. Sugarcane, rain, spice up the dream, addicting, uplifting this part of me. Spearmint, here you go. Sunrise, here you go. Nonsense, here we go. Thank you, here I go. Welcome. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another installment of Conversations with Dog. Alice and I are up here in the high country. It's beautiful up on the Skyline Drive. Because today we want to talk to you about the concept of enlightenment. We want to talk about both the mystical sense of enlightenment, but primarily we want to talk about the practical, everyday sense of leading an enlightened existence. Because we know many of you out there are what we call spiritual seekers, and many of you have spiritual teachers or gurus. And one of the most profoundly confusing things that we witness day in and day out about today's spiritual gurus is their tendency to keep the seekers confused. See, these gurus, these New Age gurus, they treat enlightenment like it's some sort of carrot on the end of a stick attached to the donkey's collar, you know? Now, look, we understand why. From the historical and traditional perspective, we understand why your guru wants you to stay stuck in your sense of darkness. By the way, did you know that about the word guru? That it means, literally, someone who leads you from the darkness into the light. See, gu is the root of an ancient word that means darkness, and ru is the root of a word that means light. So, in the ancient mystical sense, when your guru has led you from the dark into the light, well, then you've been enlightened, you know, illuminated. Project, reflect, which is a nice poetic notion. But it's silly because you're already standing in the light. The light is inescapable. If you are seeing darkness, well, this is a form of light, and it's called a shadow, and in this case, it is your own shadow. So you just turn around, you look again. Besides, practical enlightenment has nothing to do with visible light. Now, I know that many New Age spiritual gurus have their followers also believing that enlightenment is next to impossible, and that it has been reserved throughout all time for just a handful of special souls. You know, Buddha and Jesus and Abraham and Esther Hicks or something, the Dalai Lama, the Pope. But that is nonsense. And your guru even tells you this when they say that really everyone is enlightened, they just don't know it. Which may or may not be true, but really this is a form of spiritual trickery, and they use it to keep you focused on that carrot. They use this notion to keep you stuck and, more importantly, to give you a sense of spiritual superiority. Wherein, when someone like me comes along to tell you just how simple it is, how accessible it is to live an enlightened life, well, you have good cause and justification to call me a fool. And then you and your guru, given the opportunity, can insist that I really should come follow your path. But really it just bugs you. It bugs you both that I seem to be quite content and you are not. And misery, they say, loves company. So you want me to join you. But when a guru tells me that they have something to teach me, I simply ask them, who was Buddha's teacher? And that stops them cold. And they either go away or they send me away. See, the thing is, misery does love company, but joy also loves company. Happiness loves company, peace loves company. And so, Alice and I are here to invite you. So, let's get it straight. To be enlightened in the practical sense, dear friend, is quite simply to no longer perceive life as a burden, not your life or anyone else's. Because when life is a burden, it is a psychological weight. It manifests itself physically, like a weight upon your shoulders, a weight within your body. And when you finally arrive at a perspective wherein life is no longer a burden, well, then that weight is lifted. And literally now you're enlightened because the load has been removed. It ain't heavy, it's my life, and I love it. That sort of thing. Perhaps you've heard of a man named D.T. Suzuki. He brought a great deal of Zen to America back in the 1900s. And when D.T. Suzuki was asked, what is it like to be enlightened? He said, it's like everyday ordinary experience, only about 2 inches off the ground. You see? So there is that sense of not only a weight being lifted, but of gravity itself losing some of its effect. And this is because when you are enlightened, your life is no longer such a grave situation. Grave, gravity, get it? It really is this simple. So, if you would like to give it a go, Alice and I are going to share an exercise that Alice, the Canine Messiah, shared with me many years ago. It is called the One Exercise. And that is partly because there is only one exercise. There is only one thing to do. There is only one step. There's only one thing to be, one thing to see. Now, I understand there are many, many programs with many, many steps to enlightenment. There are 5 steps, and 7 steps, and 12 steps, and I imagine there are more than that. And these might be valid, and they might eventually get you there where you think you want to be, away from here where you don't like it very much. But if they should finally get you there, you will realize something. You will realize that you are here. You are always only here. You cannot be there. You see, these many steps away from here programs are designed to require and suggest that you buy books and attend expensive seminars and spend a great deal of money month after month and year after year, and they hang the next step and the next step out there, like that carrot we mentioned earlier. But you cannot take the next step. You can only take this step, the one you are taking now, and eventually you will realize this, And if you should happen to confront your guru with this fact, he or she will likely tell you that you're wrong. And they will probably offer to sell you another book, a higher level book with higher level steps. But that's nonsense, because really all that a good guru does is picks your pocket and sells you back your watch, and an honest guru will admit that. You see, you have it, and you have had it all along, this key to setting yourself free here now in the world in which you live. In other words, you are already enlightened, but it is up to you to realize it and to say so. So, the one exercise. The one exercise is a meditation. It is a meditation in real time on the streets of your life. And it is the easiest meditation that you will ever undertake. I want to begin with a reference point or two. Perhaps you have heard of the Vietnamese monk named Thich Nhat Hanh, who has written a book called Peace is Every Step. This is a book about walking meditation. And the one exercise is also a walking meditation, only it is a walking meditation at speed, in real time, in your everyday world. And meditation, done right, brings you to the Christian notion of the peace that passes all understanding, because you forego thought-based understanding in meditation. And if you have ever meditated, you might be aware of the profound insights that arise in this place, this mental space of thoughtless awareness. Ask Isaac Newton, ask Albert Einstein, for it is from this space that they drew some of their greatest insights. So please, do not discount the notion. Besides, if you live to be 90, you will be on this earth for some 4,680 weeks. The notion of trying on, of risking, if you will, a different perspective for 10 or 12 or 20 of those weeks seems like a no-brainer to me. I mean, why not? You can always go back to the confusion. So, the one exercise, it's very simple. All that you do is adjust the way that you see. That is, adjust your perspective on the world in which you live. You adjust the way you think about it. See, most people go around their lives day to day and they see many, many things. Most people see cars and trees, computers, and other people as separate things. But what is a thing? This is important. A thing is a think. A thing is a unit of thought. You can look at a house, for example, as being one thing. There is one house in your neighborhood, and there is another house in your neighborhood, and so on. But you can also look at a house as being comprised of many things, many aspects. Each brick used to build it is a thing. Every door in the house, every window is a thing. The refrigerator, that's a thing. The toilet, that's a thing. And on and on and on. Many, many things come together to make up this one thing that you can call a house. So you decide whether the house is one thing or many things. It depends on how you choose to think about it. So, should you choose to undertake the one exercise, all you have to do is begin to see one thing. That's the one exercise, the practice of seeing your world as a unity. You declare it a unity and you label it a unity at every turn. You begin to see a unity that is comprised of countless, diverse aspects of this unity. There is an ancient mythology that says that in the beginning there was the self. And looking around, and becoming aware of itself, the self said, I am that. And we are talking about the grand self of the universe now. Don't get confused here. This is not personal. And so, everything becomes an aspect of the one thing. This mythological one self that is all there is. Now, when you look about, you see and you begin to interact with car self and tree self, computer self and house self. Human beings become fellow self. Animals become fellow self. There is Greg self and Alice self, Jim self and Helen self. There is cow self and cat self. At the restaurant, there is waitress self. At the store, there is cashier self. And sometimes on the road in front of you, there is slow driver self. And what you have engaged in, you see, is a most direct practice now of self-discovery, self-awareness, self-consideration, self-respect, and so on. And this is all you do when you engage the one exercise. You simply see everything as an inseparable aspect of the one thing. And I realize that what you are doing is pretending. I am asking you to pretend that the world is a unity. I get it. It's pretend. It's a game of pretend. Let's play. But if you choose to pretend this vision of unity for a while with sincerity, faith, and grace, then you might just one day wake up to discover that you are now tending to your vision of unity. You're no longer pretending, you are tending to. And you will find yourself enlightened. Because in a world of unity, there is no problem in need of a separate solution, because nothing is separate. All is one. All is a unity. And life becomes one thing and one thing only. It becomes opportunity at every turn. Opportunity for the art of humanity. Good luck. Have fun. Greetings, folks. Welcome to the Road Less Travels. I'm your host, Les Iszmore. You know, out here on the Road Less Travels, it's not right and it's not wrong. It's just the way we do it. So think about it and enjoy the ride, because you're the driver. You know, out here on the Road Less Travels, folks, we run into some doggone interesting people and places. And this month, my friend Alice the Canine Messiah suggested that we go and visit one of her favorite places to shop. It's a little store. It's located in the Seminole Commons Shopping Center. It's just north of town, up in the Hollymead area. It's called Natural Pet Essentials. And Alice asked Miss Kim, the owner, if she would be kind enough to share some insights on just what to look for when you're choosing a healthy, natural food for your best friend. So come on in, folks.
Hello, my name is Kim and I am the owner of Natural Pet Essentials here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Very frequently people come to me and ask me, what is the best pet food? It's actually a really difficult question to answer. There are a lot of different pet foods on the market. There's a lot of different types of pet foods on the market. And finding the perfect pet food for your pet isn't always very easy. So there's no specific pet food that is ideal for every animal. Just like people are different, so are animals. So I usually tell people the first thing that they need to do is research what type of food they want to feed. People have different theories on different types of foods, and there can certainly be different benefits to feeding these different types of foods. There are some people that feed a raw diet. Those people feel that moisture is extremely important in a diet, that the whole food ingredients that haven't been cooked, that haven't been processed, are really ideal for animals. A lot of people often look at the ancestry of our dogs and cats, and in the wild they're not out foraging for grains and things of that nature. They're actually out, making a kill, eating the meat, getting the benefit of the organs and things of that nature. So there are definitely benefits to feeding a raw diet. You may be asking too, well, you keep referencing in the wild, but these are domesticated pets. Yes, they are. However, they are still very genetically similar to their wolf counterparts. Their digestive tracts are still very, very similar, and their DNA is still very, very similar. So those are all things that we have to look at. For some people, feeding a dry kibble is ideal. Dry kibble certainly has its convenience. It's certainly at a better price point for people, so that's something to look at too. So once you've figured out what type of food is ideal for you, for your pet, then you begin your research on what's good quality. There's some ingredients that pets just don't need. They're not biologically appropriate. They're not something that they would find naturally in the wild in their diet. When I'm critiquing foods to bring into the store, I don't want to see a food that has soy or corn or wheat. All of these formulas or ingredients can be considered, fillers, they can be considered inferior. They also can cause an inflammatory response, meaning they can cause allergies and things of that nature. We also don't want to see byproducts in the ingredient panel. So many of us look at our pets as family and we want them to eat the healthiest food available, just like they are our family. So those are just a few things we're looking at. Other things we look for in ingredient panel, things we want to see. We want to see fresh meat in the ingredient panel. We want to see, the first 2-3 ingredients that say chicken, turkey. You might see something in there that says chicken meal. Chicken meal isn't necessarily a bad thing. Byproduct meal can be a bad thing, but if it says chicken meal, that's not necessarily something bad. What that means is that the water has been dehydrated out of the meat to make a more dense form. So it's actually a really high source of protein when you see a meal in an ingredient panel. Other things to look for are, does the food have grains in it? Do you want to feed your pet foods with grains? Some people are limited. If they have a dog with allergies, they find that feeding foods with grains actually increase the inflammation in the body and can cause worse symptoms to their allergies. They'll see increased inflammation with scratching and red ears and itching and things of that nature. You might get hot spots, weepy lesions. So a lot of people often look to find foods that don't have grains in them, and there can certainly be benefits to feeding foods without grains also. I often have people that come to me that have questions about allergy issues. What can we feed? What's the best diet for a pet with allergies? Again, it's finding out the history of the pet. What has it eaten before that it seems to have had a response to? Do the issues seem to be year-round, or do they seem to be seasonal? Sometimes we're dealing with a seasonal component to the allergies. When we are dealing with pets that have seasonal allergies, it doesn't mean that food isn't important. The whole theory behind feeding a high-quality pet food is that the whole body is going to be healthier and therefore more equipped to handle these perhaps environmental allergies and things of that nature. Certainly there are a lot of supplements and things that we can feed to help a pet through an allergy flare-up. Fish oils, coconut oils, things of that nature are often very successful at helping improve the immune system overall and also the skin and coat. There are also a lot of foods that can be, as I said, inflammatory, but not just when it comes to grains and soys and things like that. Proteins all carry different energies. If you look at Chinese theory, foods have different energies that are associated with them. So When someone comes to me and says, you know, hey, my dog is really itching and scratching, it's July and they're just, you know, they got hot spots everywhere, there are certain foods that I'm going to be more inclined to recommend. I'm not going to recommend a food that I know is going to increase inflammation. Certain proteins like venison and lamb are often considered hot proteins, meaning that they will increase that inflammation in the body. Whereas other foods are considered cooling. Duck, fish, rabbit are all considered cooling proteins, and so we often will recommend these types of foods to pets with allergies. So those are just a few of the things that we look for, you know, when we're looking for a good quality pet food, if we're dealing with a pet that has allergy issues, digestive issues, anything of that nature. So hopefully the products that we have here at Natural Pet Essentials are going to be something that we can find that's going to work best for your pet and make them as healthy and as happy as they can be.
Does it for me, strip away sweet the varnish of sleep, minting, imprinting this part of me. Breakfast with you, here you go. Truth, utter nonsense, do it with me, with tether, tongue signal, splendor of sleep. Vocalize, still I cry, this part of me I know. This you know, this I know. Breakfast with you. Sunrise does it for me. Fire infused with color, with dream, blazing, reglazing this part of me. Breakfast with you, here you go. It for me, service supreme, me suffering, sleep, feeding, indeed I am this part of me. I know, this I know, this I know. Breakfast with you. This, thank you, does it for me. Sugarcane, rain, spice up the dream, addicting, uplifting this part of me. Spearmint, here you go. Sunrise, here you go. Nonsense, here we go. Thank you, here